pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome, everyone, to our September Metro Parks and Rec meeting. I'll start by reading the appeal of decisions. Pursuant to the provisions of 2.68030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. All right, we have a very full agenda today, so let's next go to the consideration of minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
A motion?
Second.
Got a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have Metro Council referral. Ms. Angie Henderson is here and would like to speak. Soon to be Vice Mayor Angie Henderson. You are now,
I
officially.
actually am
Oh, I didn't know that.
officially
Okay,
Vice Mayor
good.
now.
Thank you.
Yes,
I thought it
yes.
was all pending everything else. So
As of
Well,
September 1st.
congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate this, that rather. So I'm here in my capacity as Vice Mayor and President of the City Council, and also as the outgoing council member for District 34. As you all are well aware, all the Warner Parks are in District 34, and previously our Radnor Lake State Natural Area. So parks are really important to District 34, and safe access to them and from them in a multimodal manner is also really important to our district. So I thought I would take some time, if I may, to speak to you today in a more general sense about what I hope going forward with this next council, how we can work together as a Parks Board and a City Council, and how in speaking to that, that does somewhat inform a matter that has been before you, and I think is going to be spoken on as well today regarding the Belmead Highlands study that includes the Warner Parks and Cheekwood, all within District 34. I did want to express as well Councilwoman Sandy Ewing, who will be serving District 34, sends her greetings and her appreciation. She's not able to be here today for a work commitment. So as President of the City Council, I represent and support council members in their district service. And that is part of what has motivated me to run to serve as Vice Mayor. And I think I have found over the years in my twice chairmanship of the Parks Committee of the Council and in my district service that we do have some unnecessarily kind of complicated or disjointed pathways between our many departments and some of our boards and commissions. And so what I would have hoped to be here sharing with you today is perhaps some beautiful renderings of the boundary areas of the Warner Parks, the new golf course improvement, how we had synergistically worked together to optimize this moment from a fiscal prudence standpoint and just an alignment standpoint with stormwater and NDOT and planning and parks. We have a great partner in the Golf Foundation and friends, and we have Cheekwood, which is a very important stakeholder in the community, that we would have all come together in this moment, particular to the golf course renovation, to effectuate some things that are much needed and known to be needed. We do not have safe ingress and egress for people on foot and bike to Cheekwood or to the Warner Parks. It's highly problematic and unsafe. We have lack of sidewalks. We have some sidewalks. They end on a rise in a bend with multiple ingresses and egresses to our third most popular tourist destination and our most popular park in the city. There is really a physical convergence of opportunity and challenges at the top of Forest Park and in this neighborhood. And so it has not been for lack of trying. As a council member, I think Mr. Anderson, you and I first met when I was president of the Belmead Highlands Neighborhood Association, because this matter of parking and shared use, particular to these two very valued stakeholders, was contentious, right? And when I came in as a council member, I have only ever and always tried to kind of be in the middle as a neutral, good faith convener to effectuate a solution that is good for Nashville and for the neighborhood. And so I think as vice mayor in this moment and president of the council, what I want to say to you as a board is let's figure out a way to work together such that when we do have an optimizing moment like this, right, where there are things that NDOT can do, there are things that stormwater can do, there are things that the neighborhood wants, there are things that stakeholders need. I have been articulating all of those to all those departments, to 3 different mayors in my service, and what has effectively been 5 different leaders of NDOT over that time. And so here we are in a moment, again, of some consternation about this study. And that is not for lack of trying to effectuate a collegial, collaborative, fiscally prudent alignment of interests. And so, again, what I thought I would be standing here today to share with you is the happy news that we're going to cut a ribbon on a partnership at our 9-hole golf course. We have decided we've got to about 30% engineering on where our pathway is going to be and our crosswalks. That's informed the golf course renovation because now they know where they can put their gateways and their fencing and their landscaping. They also know that because we partnered with Stormwater, because all along Forest Park, it's highly erosive and we've got to do something there. So there were all kinds of opportunities along multiple years and multiple administrations, and me nagging and asking to get everything to come together. So what that says to me is despite best intentions, the process that we have to effectuate an optimization here that our citizens should expect that we can do. It's not in place. And I think we've had some good conversations, Director Odom, when NDOT came to our transportation and infrastructure about how to partner on parks roadways so that we were not putting in striping plans that encourage speeding. And I think you all have put in place an opportunity now for NDOT to work with parks on what that looks like. We need more of that. It is unclear to me as a council member, what are the priorities and goals around maintenance and capital investment? To take something to the mayor's office over and over and over again, and at the very finish line of a capital spending plan, be told that the reason it wasn't being funded is because it was not a parks priority, is disconcerting. And I'm not impugning anyone or asserting that that was in fact accurate. I'm just telling you that's all of this stuff that happens. It is very difficult to be the council member standing in the middle of all that. And so as now vice mayor and president of the council, I want to help council members, the Parks Board, all our departments. Let's not be here again in this moment. I think every council member, all 35 district council members, have a situation like this that they're aware of, right? One of these opportunities, right? Where NDOT could work with parks and could work with planning and a stakeholder, and we could do a really good thing. But for lack of process alignment, it just doesn't get done. And so I look forward to the opportunity to work with you all on that, to improve that. And as it relates to the Belmead Highlands study in particular, I am not sure kind of what is before you at this moment, I would assume it is to affirm the scope of the proposed study. But that the neighborhood has not been sufficiently engaged for that purpose. So what I am asking for is a brief pause. This mayor will not be the mayor in 3 more weeks. Fact. So I have a new council member serving my district. I do not want to hand her a can of worms, the same can of worms I was handed 8 years ago. I really do think in the best interest of all stakeholders, that is not to scuttle this plan. There has been some good work done. When I got surprised in February and told, surprise, there's going to be a 500K study, not the capital improvement that you requested, then I leaned in to show up at that first meeting and make sure that we were doing all this partnering I'm talking about. I invited WeGo, I invited NDOT, I invited Stormwater. We talked about all these opportunities. And the only ever hurry up piece of that, colleagues, was let's get to maybe 30% engineering and what our traffic calming is going to be. So that will inform the finishing of the golf course renovation, right? So that kind of capital piece was, well, maybe let's kind of push on ahead on that because we have talked to the neighborhood. We know the traffic calming they want. They know the stormwater. But that was not a let's hurry up on the larger questions of access and ingress and egress. Those are bigger conversations and they're important conversations, and one I genuinely want to have Ms. Ewing, Councilmember Ewing, the next administration, all these departments, myself involved in. And so what I would ask, please, if you are going to take a vote in some regard, it is simply just to press pause on this process, because I am particularly concerned that it seems to be it is a well-balanced study overall. There are very good components. What the neighborhood understands, what I understood, this was the scope of the study, right? It's the preliminary scope for the study. Parking is part of that, but what I really think we need to do is kind of bifurcate this, put it in pieces, and talk about the capital improvement and the near-term improvements that need to happen, and kind of make sure the scope is clear on that. Because if a neighborhood member were to see the study as depicted before you all at last meeting, I think they would be highly concerned about the structured parking. I am concerned about induced demand that free parking brings, but we need to have all these conversations about transportation demand management for the park, for Cheekwood, and for all these things. And I have spoken too long, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there, both from the vice mayoral, how we work together, and that this particular situation is as emblematic of that. So I would just ask, please, that if you do take a vote, it's merely to press pause till we get into this next administration, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for your input. Are there any other Metro Council referrals? No, okay. Now we'll move into the public comment period, which of course is new to all of us. And just to remind all the commissioners, if we have 3 today that will speak, individuals, they must speak on an agenda item on our agenda today. You have up to 2 minutes. Assume we have a timer that will let us know when the 2 minutes is up. And as we learned last meeting, we are not to comment back. We're just to hear what the individual citizens would like to say. So first, I'll call up Dee Dee Bird.
From news further down on the agenda today, so there's a couple of things I want to make you familiar with. It's green. Okay.
You have a letter that I have sent to the 4 council members, which I think are concerned with Brookmead Park, and I'd like to welcome Jason Spain, who's the new council member for District 35 that's here with us today. We're so happy to have him. Sherry Weiner, District 22, Tom Druffel, District 23, Jason Spain, District 35. We were hoping that Councilmember Horton would be here today. Sherry Weiner had a previous engagement, and Tom Druffel's out of town. The letter on your desk is all the concerns that we're going to address later on in this meeting. And we also are very concerned about the fact that Brookmead has remained stagnant for the 8 months since the Office of Homeless Services has housed the individuals that were residing illegally inside Brookmead. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk to you guys about. So if you'll familiarize yourself with that letter, that's basically the points that I'm going to touch on. And we have a couple more people that are going to speak to you later on today that you have a handout from one of them also. Thank you.
Second speaker for public comment is Mitt Vokes.
We're back. Hi, guys. I think some of you all know me and some do not, but you know me by email. I don't get up very much and speak. I'm actually the treasurer for Reclaim Brookmead Park, so I've handled all the money. We have dissolved, but not in group, only in name through the state because we did not want to take any more contributions. So we do have money left over that we're going to make a decision about, and more than likely it will go to Greenways. Matter of fact, 99% it will go to Greenways. There was a concern that we had, and so I asked to get some information from Metro. It was provided to me, and it looks like Gresham Smith has charged $172,000 to do the plan for Brookmead Park. We had asked about public engagement several times, and it just hasn't happened, right? And I don't know, and I know you're not supposed to answer me back, if the plan is actually in y'all's hands yet. I think it was supposed to be there just September 1st. The main thing that disturbs us about this Gresham Smith situation is, and I believe I put it on all your desks, I looked at all the invoices, or we did, and there is actually an invoice, and it goes from February, I believe, until April. And it's charged, we are charged as Metro for many hours, and it says master plan with public engagement. That's how it's charged to Metro. We have had no public engagement. I know they are doing a master plan, but I'm not sure why they would bill us this way if we did not get any kind of say-so in it. I grew up in Nashville. I grew up going in and out of many of the parks. Grew up, played golf on Percy Warner the first time, go to McCabe and walk, go to Bellevue and walk, walk the Richland Greenway, all of it, and recently joined the Parthenon Conservancy. So all parks are important to me. All aspects of parks are important to me. I found out about Brookmead by going to Lowe's. We moved back to Westmead from living in Williamson County, and that's the only way, and that's the only way I knew about Brookmead. But I feel like, y'all, that whole community around there has got to have a say-so in what goes on there. Because
We're going to have to stop at 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
Oh, is it 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, that was it. Okay. I'll let Didier one of them. But just, would you do me a favor and please look at this invoice and let us know why
Okay. Thank you.
they pay.
All right.
Thanks, George.
Next is Tim Tomes.
Thank you. I just want to address a couple of things with Brookmead Park. I was an original board member of Reclaim Brookmead Park, and yes, we have dissolved as far as taking money from the public, but as a group, we're not, and we're growing by leaps and bounds because we have got a charter school on the corner of Davidson and Charlotte that is right across the street from that park, okay? We also understand that it takes a long time to get it back together. We're going on to 9 months now, and it's a mess over there. We are personally fighting to keep homeless people out of it. I do that by myself, which is probably not a smart thing to do, but it's happening. One of the biggest issues for us is that from what we can tell and from what we've been told is that there's not going to be much done to Brookmead Park. It's just going to be put back the way it was, clean it up, leave it like it is. And I just want to remind the park board, April Calvin has gotten everybody housed out of there that we fought so hard to get housing for a year and a half. If that park is put back just the way that it was, in 7 days, they're going to be back there again. And then the park board's responsibility is going to be to get them out. April has made it very, very known. They got them once, they're not doing it again. This whole area, and you know Bob Henderson, he's got this great program for schools to go on tours over there. They can put it on their iPad or their phone or whatever and show where Indian villages were. It's a great historical site. It's wonderful. The community's got 5,000 to 8,000 more people in it than it did 20 years ago when it was left, and not your fault because you came in and inherited it. But the bottom line is we got a school there now. We've got all this stuff going on. We have got to have more than just it cleaned out and then the rats killed. I mean, that's not going to attract anybody over there except homeless people. So we would just like for you to take a look at it, see what we can do, and let's try to keep it from being a homeless park because that's going to be a problem in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to old business. 072309 Vanderbilt University Athletics Department requests permission to provide Vanderbilt University Athletics branded signage on the new scoreboard at the Centennial Sportsplex at their expense. Signage will be installed on the structure of the board as long as Vanderbilt University Athletics remains a tenant of the swimming facility. Michelle?
Thank you. The signage committee did meet this morning and has voted to defer this for one meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, I will entertain a motion to consider the entire consent agenda. Are there any questions or changes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Moving to new business. All right. We're going to have, this is 092303 Brookmead Park update. So we're going to have staff give a update, and then Brookmead Park will allow 5 minutes of the microphone after the park's update.
Did you, sorry, I think you skipped over an agenda item.
I think that was on the consent.
The Kenny Playhouse?
That's in the consent agenda, I
Oh,
think.
my apologies.
Yeah, that's okay. So, update, hey,
All right.
good.
We've got the plan, which is up here, which is developed by Gresham Smith. We've got John Lavender and Jason Kochmar here from Gresham Smith who are going to go over this with you. And then any questions y'all have, we'll try to answer.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil, and thank you, Council, for having us here today. I'm Jason Kochmar, a Senior Landscape Architect with Gresham Smith. And Metro Parks and Greenways engaged Gresham Smith to do a master plan of the restoration of Brookmead Park. The plan that you have on your screen at the moment, I apologise, it's hard to see the numbers and what we're doing through the plan. But if we work to the bottom of the page and work our way up to the top of the page, where we did a series of analysis out on site, a lot of site inspections with Metro throughout the seasons to understand what the site and what vegetation came back, and how through the seasons, how the paths network restored itself. So through that analysis, we came to some key features that need to be restored before the park can be open again. So at the bottom of the page is the restoration of the parking lot. Number 2 is the restoration of the trailhead sign. 3, there's a wooden boardwalk that was unsafe that's been replaced as part of this. The squiggly line on your left-hand side there, it was a dirt maintenance track that's just been gravelled to formalise that for maintenance. 5 indicates there's sections on the Greenway that existing routes have uplifted the trail itself. So we're going through on select sections of the Greenway, replacing those sections to make it safe. The whole Greenway path network will be cleaned and also sealed again. You can see the faint red dash line throughout there, indicating through that section there will be invasive plants will be removed in that section. It's also to note that Metro Parks have also gone in as part of their maintenance throughout the whole park, removing some of the understory, some of the invasive weeds throughout the whole park to open up those views throughout. Moving further up above the red dash line, there's graffiti on the existing pedestrian footbridge there, so that graffiti will be removed as part of this exercise. And the two items up top there's an existing wooden lookout and a historic sign, interpretive sign there. The wooden lookout will be replaced, and then the historic sign will be updated, restored as well, but also going back to using the principles of the Greenway, Metro's Greenway graphics style as well. So they'll be upgraded as part of the works. And that's the restoration of the park as it sits today.
I know the Brookmead group's going to speak in a second, but before they get up, are there any questions, or we can open up questions after Brookmead speaks?
Sorry, I guess where we are in the project at the moment,
Yeah.
kind of thing, sorry. So we completed a CD, construction documentation package, and that was delivered to Phil and the team. And I believe, Phil, that was submitted to bidding?
Yes.
Team?
When was that, last week, by chance?
Last week,
Okay.
it was submitted to purchasing. All of the documentation and solicitation forms and everything was sent down to purchasing. At this point, I'm sure nobody's gotten back with me yet on who's going to be doing the bid. So we're just waiting on that information.
Okay, any questions?
Quick question, George.
Yeah.
Just an overall question. When do you expect all this work to be completed?
The construction?
Yeah.
Well, as soon as hopefully we get a bid from a contractor, because we have gotten some bids for different things in the parks lately that we got nobody to bid on. So hopefully if we get that done, whatever that process takes in purchasing, we'll get a contractor and start that process. I would think sometime late next summer, fall to get this done, because the biggest holdup's going to be probably the rebuilding the boardwalk there when it starts, because it's going to be more of a concrete structure. It's going to be stained, and the rest and redoing the overlook will probably be the biggest top lines.
The information that was presented, this information that's been presented, do we have access to that? So we can see?
We do. Yeah.
It's not in my packet. Or is it in my packet? I didn't see it.
Can y'all just email that?
I can send it. We can.
Yeah, y'all email that to us, would be great.
Because that's difficult to look at.
Yeah.
So the comment was made earlier, how much public input did y'all receive?
So as part of this, it was earlier discussed that it was just a restoration project in this phase. So we were going through the process to have a better understanding of what we can do and what's required to open the park. And then we're looking at having that. It was more not a public engagement, it was more an update of when, once we understood the schedule from the construction side of things, that we can update the public that way. It was more about our analysis of the existing site, not public engagement through that.
Would someone from Brookmead Park Advocacy like to speak? And you can have up to 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm Tim Tomes again. Is there any way that the Brookmead Park people can have a copy of this as well? This goes to the very same issue of no communication, and I'm just saying we have no idea. And it looks not you, Phil, but it looks like there's nothing going in there. You're just going to replace a bridge. You're going to fix the overlook. You're going to get all the overgrown growth out of there. Are there any plans for a pavilion, a bathroom, I don't know, a little soccer park or something? At one time there was. If we don't have anything in Brookmead Park to draw people there, and that piece of property is such a prime piece of property for the Indian world, back in the 13,000 years ago. And all the stuff that can be done to that park with not a whole lot of money. I mean, Bob Anderson's already going to give you the program, but this park has got to have something to draw people there, because if not, all this is for nothing. Because I promise you, after 2.5 years dealing with this, they'll be in there in 6 days. And then we're going to be back, and it's really going to get ugly at that point, because it's a waste of total money. So all we're asking is, you know, we've never been publicly engaged on anything with this park, which I thought we really would be great if we were, since we were the ones who started the whole thing. And it's not about being mean or anything. It's just, you know, hey, let's try to get this right the first time and not spend all the taxpayer money, because it is our money. You know, the taxpayer money. Get some other things in there that'll take people. My daughter, her husband, my grandchildren just live 2 streets down Davidson. I would love to be able to take my grandkids over there and do things. But with nothing there, as I was told by a park board employee, nobody in the room here, I was told, which I found to be a little rude, was that, oh, there's plenty to do over there. And I said, like what? Go play in the poison ivy and pick up dead rats? Because that's all it is at that point, not you, Phil. And I just, you know, that's the kind of thing that bothers me when you inquire and somebody comes out with a smarty remark. It's like, you know what? You work for the taxpayer. Civil service people work for the taxpayer. We're trying to be nice. We're trying to work with people. And then we get little snotty comments from employees inside the Parks Department. And it's like, you know what? If we're going to have to push harder, we will. And we don't need that. We just want to work with y'all and get it right the first time. That's all. Thank you.
Just another point of clarification on the master plan with public engagement. You said you were hired for restoration.
Yeah, I can. Well, I'd like to respond a little bit to the previous person. You know, our first priority. I'm John Lavender. Sorry, with Gresham. Our first priority was, and you know, marching orders kind of from Parks was, we need to get this park open again. It's been, you know, closed and unusable for a period of time. We need to get it open. So, with funding, and our first priority is to get it open. From the standpoint of public engagement, you know, the terminology I think that was used in our scope was kind of all-encompassing, because it included all of our meetings out on site at Metro Parks as we're working through, you know, replacements and what we're going to be able to do for the budget that we have. So, you know, that is kind of all-encompassing. As Jason mentioned, you know, an open public forum was really reserved for when we really know what's the schedule, what's the construction, when we think we can get started and completion, so we can give people a real number, as opposed to shooting in the dark and hoping for a certain date and not being able to hit that target date. So that meeting is, as far as an open public forum, is really, you know, to be determined when we know when it's going to come out of purchasing and go to bid, and we can be more confident about a construction schedule. So
the plans would change if you get input that makes sense?
Well, again, our scope and priority was to get the park open as it had been prior to, you know, it being closed. So that schedule would, you know, that would not change anything about the design. You know, our priority is to get it open and get people able to go back in there and use it from a general perspective. Now, future phases could certainly accommodate other uses, as have been suggested. But again, it was about getting the park renovated and back open for use. So.
Go ahead, Susanna.
I guess, I mean, this is a little bit of a question of which comes first. You know, there's clearly a scope of work that that we've asked for you to do, but I think there's a need for the community to voice some of their hopes and dreams. And so it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that the scope of work was really just did not include the hopes and dreams. And so now I think we as a board need to create an opportunity for the public to be able to, you know, have public comment and share and collaborate and figure out what could the park be. But I mean, when I hear some of the things that are being suggested, it reminds me a little bit of where we were, excuse me, with Church Street Park, and that, you know, there was just a programming component of how we got to the place where there was so much people experiencing homelessness using that park. And so I think the hopes and dreams that you're talking about, that Tim was talking about earlier, I think we need to, in my view, create an opportunity for that, but I think that does sound like phase 2.
If I, go ahead. I was just going to add on, if I might, as we move forward into hearing input from the community and referencing back to your previous discussion in the advocacy committee, this would be a great opportunity for, as you hear about what the community would like to see, an opportunity for you to advocate with Metro Council members and our new council member to support additional funding for this particular project. As you may recall, we received $850,000 of ARPA funding directed toward renovation of Brookmead Park, and that will inevitably not be enough for even a phase 1 probably. And so anything additional will need additional funding. We'll certainly make sure it is in a capital budget request of the departments, but we'll also need you all to advocate for that as well.
Sorry, I just wanted to circle back and say that even though I might say that it seems kind of far away, some of the programming or suggest ideas that were suggested, I do think there is a consistent message that we are getting from people about Brookmead Park, that there is not enough communication. And so I would advocate that we create an opportunity for those communications and suggestions to come through. So if that is having another meeting, another agenda item in the next meeting, or a separate meeting, I think that we need to create those opportunities.
Thank you. Pete?
My comment is just simply that a park should be an asset for a neighborhood. A park needs to be an asset for a neighborhood. And whether services get expanded at this park or not, we as a city allowed that to become a homeless encampment, which is no excuse for that. Should not be the case in any of our parks. After the homeless encampment was moved out, the process by which this has moved seems to me to be inordinately slow. And I'm not blaming any of you for this, but I am saying it's inordinately slow. We burden the neighborhood by having a homeless encampment there, and then we're sort of adding insult to injury by this protracted process by which we restore it to any level. And if I can understand how the neighbors would not be appreciative of that. As a citizen of Nashville, I'm not appreciative of that. We do not ever need to let this kind of situation occur again in our parks. I'm sorry if that hurts everybody's feelings, but that's just the way it is. We do not need homeless encampments in our parks. These parks are for the enjoyment of our citizens, and they need to be safe. And we allowed that situation to be created. I'm really sorry it happened, but it did happen. And now we've dug it out. Now we need to restore it to the neighborhood.
I 100% agree with that. Does anyone else have anything to say? I would highly recommend the Weed Parks Department have public meeting for input from whomever wants to give input to this park. Let's go ahead and start the dialogue so we can be thinking about it. And we also need to talk about, as Tim said, if in case it's correct, it might be that the day we open it and then 6 days later it's full of homelessness again. We need to have a plan that does not happen with programming and other things. So we need to be thinking ahead of these things. So I would highly recommend that we have 1 or 2 public meetings to discuss what the neighbors, and everybody should have a say in this, just so we hear what is wanted in that park.
Chair, I have a question. What kind of engagement has this board had with former mayor or with the 2 candidates in the runoff for mayor? Because I know I came on the board as I was hearing about what was happening at Brookmead, and it seemed that this is something that should be led by the city, not just
it's under the purview of the parks. So first and foremost,
certainly,
we need to.
But if you don't mind,
yeah.
if I can make a request during advocacy that we develop a plan to engage the mayor's office also, because
100%
this is
agree.
a cross-systems issue. It's not something, I understand it's under our purview, but it impacts people and humans and neighbors in so many different ways that I think if we have the engagement of the mayor's office to help us lead this, that could be incredibly helpful. And the part B to my question/statement is, are you suggesting that we as a board, since it's under our purview, go ahead and set those meetings to make sure that there's public engagement? Or are you recommending that these vendors do that instead? I'm trying to make sure that I understand process and logistics. I don't want us to just say things and they float in the atmosphere and no one takes ownership.
Right. That's a good question. I'm just for people having a say in what goes on there. So I would ask the Parks Board, do we want the vendor to do it, or should we do it as a Parks Board with a vendor in attendance?
Is it part of their contract to do it? Is it part of their contract to engage that, or if it's not, it is part of their contract?
We certainly had built in time to do, some form of public engagement. We intended it to be towards the end when we're talking schedule and can give people some real numbers. Since we weren't adding new amenities to what was there, that was sort of the approach to that, so.
I would encourage you to do it sooner than later, maybe do it twice and near the end too. Let some ideas, just kind of evolve. I mean, so, and also if there's two, gives more people a chance to get there if someone can't make it.
Sure.
My apologies, Chair. I have another question then. For process sake, when you say the end, what are you looking at, the end of the fiscal year? Are you looking at the end of?
No, as Phil mentioned, it's now in the hands of purchasing to be able to put that project out to bid for construction. So dependent on how long it takes to get through the purchasing process, get it out to bid, get a contractor on board, at that point, we're able to, be able to discern this is our construction schedule when we can expect to open the park again. Because I think that's what people have been most concerned about is, when is this park going to be accessible to our neighborhood? And so, we don't want to give people, call it false hope, until we really know specifically what that date looks like.
My apologies, let me rephrase. Do you have a rough timeline, a guesstimate of when the vendor application or the RFP goes out, when you might, what is it? Is it 3 months between the time that you receive applications and the time that you establish a construction vendor? And then are we looking towards a year from now, 6 months, 2 years?
That's in a different department's purview, based off recent timeline. It could be 6 months or longer.
Okay.
Even when we get the selection made, the contract signage can take a month or more. That's just kind of what we've observed. I'm not throwing shade at the purchasing department at all. I'm just saying that's what we've observed.
It is what it is.
They do more than just parks projects.
Sure.
So that's just kind of what we've observed. This one could get faster.
Okay.
Be faster, you just don't know.
Thank you.
Anything else on Brookmead?
I have a rebuttal, if allowed.
Okay.
I don't think we used all our 5 minutes. I am so thankful that you acknowledged what went on at Brookmead. As you all know, we had people that were dying on sidewalks. We spent over 2.5 years, thousands of hours of being volunteer citizens trying to help the individuals in Brookmead and hold the park board accountable for what happened there. There are so many things that we envision in the future for Brookmead Park. We know that you guys are not responsible for that you leave the heavy lifting to friends of, and we just talked about that at committee meeting. Not every community is going to be able to formulate a Friends of Brookmead, like Friends of Warner Park or Friends of Fort Negley. So our challenge to you today, we want to know that you're going to protect this park once it gets back open. We want a park police officer assigned to our community that we can communicate to, that will, walk the park with us. We have 4 of our council members that are willing to participate in this effort. We think it's very important that somebody from the park board also communicates with us and our council members. I love the idea about the mayor. I think it's very important that the new mayor understands that our city has a beautiful park system. And I'm very concerned about where the money's coming from. If it took $172,000 to do this right here, one picture, $850,000 isn't even going to touch the bridge at the rate we're going. So that's another thing that I want to communicate with. And I think the advisory, or I don't think that's what y'all called it, the advocacy committee. I'm part of that with the Metropolitan Police Department. I think it's a wonderful tool for you to understand what's going on at the community level. So I appreciate the time, and we're looking forward to transparency and communication. And we're willing to do the work when it comes to the money, but we have to have a safe park back that has more of a vision than a walkway and 2 signs. Thank you.
Thank you. Captain Davis, would you like to speak?
Good afternoon. I'm Greg Davis. I don't think I've had the pleasure of addressing the board yet, but I was signed over to the Parks Police Department on April 1st, and I'll replace Captain Proctor. So, but I just want to step forward and kind of address some of the concerns of safety that might come up as the park reopens, as well as some of the comments that have been made in regards to we're going to be right back to the same situation within 6-7 days or any time period for that matter. But we will address those concerns in much of the same way as we're addressing the unsheltered community moving back in while it's closed for the restoration process. On a daily basis, we have an officer at least drive through, if not do a complete walkthrough, all the way into the back where the trail ends back in behind Lowe's, just to ensure that that area is staying clear, staying safe. Obviously, as it was noted earlier, this is a construction site and unsafe for visitors as well as members of the unsheltered community that might move back in while this place is closed, while this park is closed. As the park reopens, we will continue those efforts. And as we move closer to that time frame, I'm hopeful that we'll have more officers on board by then to make that more of a consistent presence to maintain those efforts and keeping that area clear. With that being said, we will depend on whether it's an official group or organized group or not, but friends of that park to kind of be our eyes and ears during that process, and let us know. There was a comment made having an officer that somebody can reach out to. That can absolutely happen, whether it's indirectly through Hub Nashville or a number that can be provided directly to one of our officers, or a number that somebody would return a call or an email in a fair amount of time to address those concerns that may arise once the park reopens.
Thank you. All right, anything else before we go on to the next topic? Thank you all for the update, update, and I think we're slowly getting there. And so, all right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, 092304, Friends of Warner Park requests acceptance of an in-kind grant not to exceed $3,200 to fund the purchase installation of a Metro Historical Commission historical marker on the grounds of the 1811 house in Percy Warner Park. The 1811 house is the oldest structure in the Warner Parks and was a contributing factor in the listing of the Warner Park Historic District in the National Registry of Historic Places in 1984. There's no required match or other obligation by parks associated with this grant.
Move for approval.
There's a second? Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry. I've driven past this structure a lot because I have a family member that used to live across the street, and always wondered what happened there. So I was glad this came up on the agenda because it gives me an opportunity to ask. I looked it up. I see that it's for rental. And it looked like the rental agreement said that it was for parks use, but there were exceptions made. But it looks like a great opportunity for a venue. If somebody could speak a little bit of the rental, of renting this structure and what goes on, and just.
It's on. So that is, it's been repaired with the help of the Friends of Warner Park, and it is a very nice structure. It is small, and it's available for the public to rent. You go through Cammie Claybrook in the Friends of Warner headquarters, and it's Warner Park Friends of Warner headquarters, and you can call them up and book it.
Okay, good opportunity for.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really a cool
All right,
structure inside.
Thank you.
It's not real big.
It's not limited to parks use. the public can use it?
Yes,
Okay.
that's primarily what it's used for.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 092305, Friends of Fort Nashboro request approval to raise funds and request acceptance of an in-kind grant valued at $2,500 for the purchase installation of 5 new signage at Fort Nashboro. There is no required match or other obligation by Parks associated with this grant. All texts will receive final approval by Metro Parks.
Move for approval.
Second? Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 02306, Friends of Fort Negley request approval to raise funds for the implementation of the master plan for Fort Negley Park. Is the Parks Department okay with the, okay.
Recommend approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
I do have a question, if you're open for discussion.
Yes, of course.
Friends of Fort Negley, I know this has just been there have been a lot of different discussions. Is there anything that happens with a new mayor coming on board? Is there a new appointment of supports or the board at Fort Negley?
I don't think so.
Okay, just wondering.
So, yes, he's not on the agenda. Yeah. I'm sorry you're not on the agenda. We can't. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know we had a speaker. I apologize.
I'm Cyril Stewart, President of the Friends of Fort Negley. To address your question, the funds been allocated by the council for the phase 1 implementation, and this would be to supplement those funds. We're not aware of any changes that would happen to the current plan. The master plan has been accepted. The funding's there, so we don't see any changes immediately from either mayor coming into office here.
All right, thank you. That helps.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
And just to inform the board, I'll be recusing myself on this vote.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. 092307, Friends of MACC requests permission to host a pickleball tournament at the Centennial Sportsplex with a waiver of court fees, tennis court, and to raise funds for the Metro organization, Metro Animal Care and Control.
Move.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. 092308, staff request approval of proposed fee this is new for recently opened places at Ravenwood and Mill Ridge Parks. The new parks are considered Tier A parks in the event fee structure with a green space fee of $235 for residents and $283 for non-residents.
Move approval.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. And I apologize, I did not finish the, let me just finish reading the motion. Sorry about that. To continue, the large event pavilion reservation for both parks is $150. This fee will cover the reservation for the large event shelter at Ravenswood and the entire pavilion area at Mill Ridge. All shelters of each park will be open to community use and available at first come, first served basis, and there's no permitted event. For permitted event use, all fees regarding alcohol sales or service food sales, admission, and entry fees will be the same as all other parks listed in the fee chart. Reservation of the large event shelters and or nearby green space will follow the normal special event permitting process. The motion has been passed. If there's any change, anyone wants to change it, let me know. If not, we'll just proceed. Okay. All right. 02309, Council Member Kevin Roten requests approval to adjust the park closing time from 11 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Ravenwood Park.
Mr. Chair, staff would certainly support revising the closing time, but would recommend that we put it at 9 p.m. with the opportunity or the option to move it back to 8 p.m. if we need to for safety and security purposes, unless there's a special event occurring there. The 9 p.m. hour is consistent with other parks across the system. We are in the process of installing electronic gates that will be time sensitive.
At this location?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to amend the motion.
Motion made to amend to 9.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. I'm sorry. Aye. In favor of.
Okay. So we're going to change it to 9 p.m. Now we'll take entertain a motion on the new motion.
Move to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries with the change. The Centennial Park Revitalization Design Team, which includes Centennial Park Conservancy, Dryden Architecture and Design, and the Metro Park Special Projects Division, requests approval of the branding for the upcoming Croquet Cafe in Centennial Park.
Move to approve.
This is going to be deferred. This needs to be deferred to committee.
Be deferred to the naming committee.
Naming committee the next meeting. 02311, the Joe C. Davis Foundation and Friends of Mill Ridge Park request approval to officially name one primitive trail at Mill Ridge Park, the Goddard Trail, and request acceptance of an in-kind donation valued at less than $3,000 for the fabrication and installation of 2 plaques. The 2 plaques will be installed at the Primitive Crossings Trailhead at Mill Ridge Park and at the end of the trail near Moore Farm to document and recognize the contributions of Mill Ridge Park to Angela Moretti Goddard, Executive Director of the Joe C. Davis Foundation. There are no required match or other obligation required. This is going to be deferred to naming committee. 092312, staff requests approval to accept a 0.6 acre conservation greenway easement from Habitat for Humanity of Greater Nashville, Inc., located on parcel 05900021100 at 3028 Gwynwood Drive.
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Defer to acquisition committee.
Acquisition deferral. Sorry about that. Staff requests approval to accept 2 conservation greenway easements from Rogers Group located on Gwynwood Drive, parcel ID 05900022600. These easements total 1.5 acres. This will be deferred as well. All right. Our last agenda item today is 02314. Ms. Jenny Hannon, President of Friends of Warner Parks, requests to address the board regarding the Belmead Highland study. Ms. Hannon, you have 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. As you today, I served on this Metro Park board for 12 years, and I now serve as president of Friends of Warner Parks. I understand the importance bestowed upon this body based on your appointment to this board to protect all of Metro Parks. For we collectively if we do not stand together to protect our parks, who will? Our parks are our most treasured natural resource for our Nashville citizens. As a stakeholder in Warner Parks for nearly 40 years, and as a stakeholder in the recent study, Friends of Warner Parks strongly believes the negative impact of moving forward with the options to build a parking structure or any other permanent parking solution on Warner Park property as presented to you in the Belmead Highlands study last month and shown here on the screen will be substantial and irreversible. It is not our intent to disrupt the process of the study, rather to ask you to state that options B and C recommended in the scope of work presented will not be accepted by the park board. Allowing such actions would result in unintended consequences of setting a precedent throughout our city that Metro Park land is available for private development, including parking. Should Warner Parks be used to solve another private entity's parking issues, a precedent is immediately set whereby all parkland in the city becomes vulnerable to private use development and private entity problem solving. A question of need for additional parking in this area for Warner Park patrons has been raised by certain parties in an effort to support the proposed study. It is important to note that as a stakeholder in the study, Friends of Warner Parks did not present parking in the study area as a problem that needs to be solved. On the contrary, in 2016, the Parks Department began a process with Friends of Warner Parks to address parking needs throughout Warner Parks. Such efforts focused on dispersing parking to all entrances of the park. This model is working, and we continue to believe this is the best approach for addressing our parking needs in a sustainable way. The best solution for the park is to encourage multiple access points for car, foot, and bike traffic so that all of Warner Parks is accessible and enjoyed by the public, not concentrating the majority of the parking in one location. Finally, our Warner Parks have no shortage of needs that require significant financial resources. Roads, trails, shelters, safety measures, erosion control, trash management, and structural maintenance are a few examples that come to mind. Spending a massive amount of taxpayer money to create additional parking for a private entity is fiscally irresponsible and irrational. Over the past 36 years, Friends of Warner Parks has invested almost $38 million in this park. The city has also made significant investments. We, as partners with the Parks Department, have deployed our resources to add to parkland, enhance user experience, educate our community, and conserve this unbelievable city resource. Friends of Warner Parks alone invested $20 million in the last 10 years to acquire additional park acreage. The growth of acreage acquired was with the intent of providing additional natural resources for our city, as well as to protect this amazing asset, not to be used or enhanced for other private interests. The use of Warner Parks the use of Warner Park's land as parking options as presented in the Belmead's Highlands study are in no way consistent with the efforts in the park. We do not support additional parking in this area, nor do we want the limited financial resources our city has available for park improvements and maintenance to be spent in this way. The Parks Department, with the support of your board, over 5 years ago established a precedent in all metro parks countywide and communicated to many other interested parties that parks were no longer going to be available as a parking solution for outside entities' use. To your credit, and to the credit of your administration, they have been consistent in enforcing this precedent citywide. Thank you for that. Today, we are asking the Park Board to request, we are asking the Park Board to request the Metro Planning Department, prior to spending $500,000 of taxpayer dollars, to hire a consultant, amend the scope, and remove the options for parking structure or any other parking solutions in Warner Parks not intended for use as currently outlined in the Belmead Highlands study. We ask the Park Board to uphold the current policy in place requiring all non-park users to find alternative parking solutions off park property. In effect, such a decision would protect and preserve our city parks from being used to solve problems of other entities. Thank you. Good timing.
Perfect timing.
Everything's timing.
Any questions for Ms. Hannon or comments from the board?
Thank you for your time today.
Hang on. Pete? Oh, I'm sorry.
My comment would be that I think we've seen what happens when we failed to plan. When we failed to plan, we wind up with things like Brookmead Park and the way that worked out. Having a thorough planning process where all options are examined is not the same thing as accepting any other options. You just simply get them all on the table and then explore them. I certainly believe in the value of everything you're saying as it relates to Friends of Warner Parks. I'm a big supporter of Friends of Warner Parks. I also believe that the neighborhood should have the opportunity to have a thorough and comprehensive study And then we can make the best decisions moving forward, as opposed to limiting the study and providing a study that has a limited scope that does not necessarily serve all the stakeholders. So I would be supportive of the scope of the study as it is currently outlined.
Any other comments? Ed?
Well, I'd be remiss for not speaking specifically because I sit on the planning commission as well. I'd echo, Commissioner Taylor very similarly. I think what we had in our conversation earlier is the importance of the communication. And I think, we wouldn't be doing our job as board members, and I think the staff of both departments wouldn't be in their jobs, either not taking these comments to heart and in earnest. And I think the process itself, again, the lens is zoomed out quite substantially. I think if these options that are presented, I personally don't think we should have put circles on what options are there. I think that might have been a step too far. That's my personal opinion. But I do think the study should still happen, and the focus on a parking and transit solution for that community that has those two magnificent institutions in it is important. I think that all of the correspondence that's been given to us should be immediately set as the foundation for the study. And so any and all factors that take place around the park, its programming, and quite honestly, its position of its friends group should be at the forefront of any consultant that comes in and the planning department as well. So I don't think there should specifically be a modification. I think every single comment that we've heard back from it has encouraged and inspired those who feel that those options aren't correct already to contribute. And so there's no reason that material is not present at the very beginning of the study.
Susanna?
I guess, I think, first of all, I think it would be helpful to clarify what exactly are we voting on?
We are not voting. This is more a presentation.
So I think understanding what our role is right now and to I guess clarify whether or not we have the ability to make modifications to the plan. Is that, do we have the ability to make modifications to the scope of work? Because, this is coming from the planning department, and so even though it impacts parks, it's sort of coming from a different department. So I'm not sure if that's legal or who to ask that question to, but.
Well, legally, today, this is not noticed as an agenda item that's to be voted upon. It's noticed just as a request to address the board. So today, the board cannot take any action on this matter.
Got it. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not really sure when to kind of. Maybe I should say, I missed the last meeting. I had a chance to review it and saw what happened and saw the presentation. So I think there's obviously been a lot of stakeholder meetings and opportunities for finally, I think, good long-term planning and ones that include, ones that Vice Mayor Henderson mentioned before. So I think that in that way, I'm really supportive of the long-term process and look forward to the vision that was presented of these things getting completed. I do have concerns, I think a lot of people do, about the parking and the solutions presented. So I have concerns about a parking structure. And I think that seems to be the crux of the issue, where it does set a precedent in parks, and it's I think what I love about the planning so far that was presented is that it is bringing so many different stakeholders for alternative modes of transportation. So that is super exciting to me. The walking opportunities, maybe even WeGo. So But when it gets into parking structures, I start having concerns, and just want to, proceed cautiously. I also just remembered that it was a year ago when Cheekwood presented a plan to build a parking structure on their property, and I'm not sure if that's where if that's the location of where A is, but so I guess I was a little caught off guard that suddenly there's now parking structures on park property. Those are my comments.
Thank you. My comments, personal comments are, and let's see, I guess this is my 15th year on the board, so I probably said this.
3.
Exactly. And Vice Mayor Henderson, I've been through this a lot, and I like the way you put it earlier about so many things flying around. It's so complicated. There are so many people that I know on both sides and that are friends, but so I probably have said this 30 times in 15 years, but our parks cannot be the de facto parking lot for the city. Once we do it for one person, whoever said it earlier, we open up a can of worms that will not come back. But I think Cheekwood would also say that we've worked hard to work together in the past. So we're all about collaboration. Been using the slash dump for years, but no one's here to hurt Cheekwood at all. But we also have, our responsibility as a board member to protect parks. And I agree, parking structure on parkland is, for me personally, is not something I'm very fond of. And I don't care if it's Warner Parks or Centennial Park or any park in the city. I love them all, obviously. So I do like your approach, Vice Mayor, of, let's figure out something that works. No one's here to hurt Cheekwood. It's a great organization. I love it, support it. And, but we just have to be very careful on using public land for parking in this way. So I think the process of talking through it, there are a lot of well-intentioned, good-hearted people involved. We should be able to figure out something. I'm a big believer in that. We should be able to figure out something. I don't know what the answer is, but if we all come with the right attitude, maybe we can figure it out. Would you agree? Yes, of course.
I concur and thank you. And just for the community's understanding, this is a potential scope of work. And so there is always the intention to come back to the community to discuss that scope. And that is part of my concern and presence here today, because it feels a lot like a hurry up at the finish line of an administration type situation. And I think it's for the greater good, to Cheekwood's benefit, to Friends' benefit, to the neighborhood, to the city's benefit, to press pause. Again, not to scuttle it. To your point, Mr. Henley, I do think the parking concerns and the access, that question has to be addressed. And so I want to convey to you all, in partnership with Councilwoman Ewing and all the departments, this just needs a little bit more time. Any speed at the earlier part of the process was only for the capital piece that would effectuate an alignment with the golf course, right? But the larger issue and the scope, it was always the intent to go back to the neighborhood. And I think that's imperative because this neighborhood has kind of been in the midst of all this consternation and confusion for a long time, and it's just fundamentally unfair for them not to have a kind of a final touch on the scope conversation before we take that to the next step. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to, I guess, clarify the idea of putting pause. I mean, do we have an ability to put pause on a scope of work planning process?
I think it's a planning process that we didn't start. I don't know if we have that authority. It's not, Parks didn't ask for it, did we? Or
it's not our study, and I don't think you have the authority other than making a request.
Yeah. So I would encourage you, Vice Mayor, to get involved with that, because that would be helpful, if that's what you'd like.
Yes, sir. I would concur with that. I think we're just a bit of an awkward moment as a city. Again, like this mayor's administration is ending in 3 weeks. I'm happy to speak with Director Kemp. I appreciate and commend the planning department as far as their engagement in this. It's just the timeline is awkward, and so what I would say to whomever is the next mayor and the current planning director is that please let's just press pause on this. There is no need, after multiple years of consternation, to push something with 3 weeks left in administration. So I take your suggestion, Chair, and I will absolutely say the same to the director of the planning department. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to special presentations. I think we just have one today now. We had 3, which we'll reschedule. Is Tim Nates here for the update? Oh, there you are, Tim. Let's see. How you doing? This update for Miracle Field and Metro Parks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Several of you, particularly Mr. Johnston, have expressed a lot of interest over the years in the development of a Miracle League field somewhere in Metro's park system. So several months ago, we were tasked with an internal exercise, first to identify potential candidate locations for the development of a Miracle League field. So several of the divisions got together and evaluated. I think we started out with maybe 5 or 6 sites and evaluated each of them, taking into consideration a number of criteria. We didn't want to displace any existing successful amenities or improvements in parks. A Miracle League field itself will have certain needs in terms of space allocation and access. Any such facility would include not just a field, but also restroom buildings, concessions, a playground. And although all of our facilities meet ADA, a facility like this, we need to be particularly cognizant of how circulation within the space works for the people who would be participants. So ultimately, we landed on Cedar Hill Park as the optimal site for a potential Miracle League field. There's an existing small underutilized ball field there currently that could be redesigned to accommodate a Miracle League field. It's also close to where there's an existing playground which could either be replaced or added to build an inclusive playground. Nearby parking that again would require modifications, but all in all, that site seems to be very well suited to such a facility. It's also easily accessible off of Old Hickory Boulevard. So we had some conversations with one of the several companies we have on contract, landscape architecture firms, knowing that they had done Miracle League fields in the past, specifically the Murfreesboro Miracle League field. They provided us some helpful information about the cost on that project, and we are currently in the process of, we have solicited from them, and they're currently in the process of developing a proposal for design of the field, design only. Funding has not been, a funding source has not been identified yet for that design phase, but this will allow us to understand what those costs would look like. So whether it comes from a Metro source or from potential private fundraising, we would be prepared to move forward with the design phase once some funding was identified to allow us to do that. Happy to answer any questions.
Ed?
Not even a question. I just want to commend the effort of staff taken to, I mean, it's a really big step when we talk about the equitability of our park system. For us not to currently have that, again, it's something that's not necessarily the most fortunate space to be in, but to know that the amount of effort that's been in there, the planning and the strategies going into it, again, there will need to be a funding source identified, but it's so difficult to do that when you don't have a place and a plan. So I'm just really glad to hear that report. Just wanted to make sure I stated that.
I agree. It's good to hear that it's back on the drawing board.
Thank you. One other thing I'll note, since it's been such an important point of discussion in the meeting today, is that we know that before finalizing any decisions about this as a site for the facility, that we will have a very robust public engagement process.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right. We will move now to capital projects update. Joe Stovall. He went the wrong direction. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. First and foremost, I'd like to let y'all know that we've filled out our open positions. I've been able to hire 3 new planners, Ty Hare, Jordan Meager, and Anna Christina Pulley Gomez, all 3 of which are here today. And we're moving forward with all the projects we have and excited to get them done. Some updates that we have, if you look at your packets, it's the highlighted ones. Bordex Gardens should be started installing tomorrow. That's the playground and the shelter and the participatory budget. Looking to complete that around November. The Centennial Master Plan, the branding for the Coquet, I guess is being moved to next month. So, yep. And looking to complete that in fall 2023. Fort Negley Master Plan, the consultant proposal has been approved. We will be using a CMAR for this project, which is Construction Manager at Risk. Fort Negley Museum feasibility study was presented on the 24th, and I believe there will be a presentation on that next month. Hartman restrooms, we've ordered some prefab restrooms. This is again a participatory budget project. We will be bidding the site work, and we're looking to have that completed around December. Cossey Gardner, we did have a short delay. We and MDHA had a issue with the concrete that was poured. Structurally, it was not sound. We had that removed, and they're working on replacing that at this time. Madison Station, the consultant proposal has been approved for the survey, and the survey should be done towards the end of September. Mariposa, the consultant design proposal has been approved as well. We're working on to secure a PO. Hopefully the design work should start this week. Mill Ridge Phase 1, we had the grand opening a couple weeks ago. It was fantastic. I'm sure Jackie will let you know about that in her update. Seaver, skipped one, Old Hickory, the construction bid has been requisitioned, and it should be out to bid within the next 2 weeks. Did get confirmation on that from procurement. Seaver, Sunnyside Mansion restoration, construction is underway, and since I made this, we have been out there again, and it looks like we're at about 85–90%, so we're looking at having that completed towards the end of November, beginning of December. Trinity Hills Habitat for Humanity design, the coordination meetings and the design has started, as I think somebody spoke to earlier. The Two Rivers Mansion, the design is at 95%. It says 90, but we're at 95 now. The Wharf Park Master Plan, we are waiting on planning to complete the property feasibility study for the 88 property. Looking to have that completed fall and then move into design for that. And then one thing you'll notice that we've completed in the last 12 months, which I'm sure everybody is happy about, is the Mill Ridge Phase 1. With that, I'll take any questions.
Question?
Joe, where are you from?
Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Let me tell you.
No, I take that back. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee.
There we go. I like that.
Oh, you're from here now. So a couple of things. It's I'm from Bordeaux.
Okay.
It's Bordeaux.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
We're serious about our wine. No. Bordeaux and Severe.
Okay.
These are your homegrown parks. We gotta,
Yes, ma'am.
just messing with you. Do good work. A lot of things happening. Thank you so much for the updates.
Yes,
Seriously.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Not Demon Brand.
We will work. We will.
Yeah,
work on
exactly,
pronunciation.
Hey, we know Michelle likes Bordeaux now. You give us your secrets. All right, so thank you, Joe.
Yes, sir.
All right, next agenda item is the Greenway. Cindy is not here today, but you have a report in your handouts that you can refer to, and I'm sure she'll catch us up next meeting. Jackie, upcoming special events and activities.
I'll make this really quick. We have a lot of stuff going on in the parks. I think you have almost 4 pages of events. So I'm not going to attempt to go through each and every one. I'm just going to hit the highlights really, really quick. If you have questions about any of those, feel free to email me or email metroparks@nashville.gov. Or if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, please do so. A lot of these events that I will list will be in the newsletter. So here's what's going on. On September 8th, Musicians Corner is back every Friday in September from 4 to 10 p.m. in Centennial Park. They have a great lineup of musicians, and the best thing about this event is that it is free, as are most of the events that I'm going to list. September 15th, we have the Friends of Warner Park Full Moon Picking Party from 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Warner Park. We have the Outside Cinema, hosted by Friends of Mill Ridge Park from 7 to 9:30 p.m. on September 15th in our brand new Mill Ridge Park. And for those of you who were not able to attend the opening of Mill Ridge Park, I think you really missed out on a great community event. That community is very appreciative of all of the amenities that park has to offer, and we are hearing about that on a daily basis through our social media and other communications channels. Also on September 15th, the African Street Festival is from 6 to 9 p.m. that entire weekend at Hadley Park. Fridays by the River is an event hosted by Friends of Shelby Park. That's also on September 15th, and it begins at 8 p.m. On September 24th, we have Jazz on the Cumberland at Cumberland Park, and we have the Human Rights Campaign Family Field Day at 11 a.m. at Hadley Park. And then on September 28th, we have the Greenways for Nashville Dinner by the Bridge. That is from it starts at 7 p.m. at Cumberland Park.
Thank you. Any questions for Jackie? How are the big band dances pre-COVID? There were hundreds of people. I went a couple of times. It was amazing. Yeah. Are they still, they come back?
They have recovered and they are back. Yeah, they're over now.
Yeah, I know.
But it's definitely one of the city's most favorite events. And it doesn't matter how old you are. We have people there that are like 6 years old up to like 86 that are dancing and enjoying great live music.
Lots of great things going on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, now we'll move to the report of the director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too will be brief, but to piggyback on what Jackie said about all of the events, there are almost 4 pages of events this month, and I'd encourage you all to select 1 or 2 maybe and see if you can get out to them to explore the park system. So our staff is continuing to work to fulfill budget investment requests that we received for this fiscal year, FY24. That includes both positions and operations improvements. Warner and Shelby Nature Centers have developed a 5-hour professional development course with certification that is free to teachers that will focus on science investigations. Beaman Park is working on environmental science partnerships with area universities, including Lipscomb, Vanderbilt, and Belmont, to work on watershed mapping and ecosystem analysis. And as you may recall, we discussed this earlier at the subcommittee meeting. We have procured a facilities conditions assessment for the buildings in the system. where we're measuring the physical condition and functional performance of our buildings and infrastructure. The purpose of the assessment, of course, is to determine whether our buildings are suitable and appropriate for their intended functions, and then inform improvements, priority, and timeline, and of course, cost. The condition assessments for the first 26 buildings in the park should be completed by the end of October. We actually have 52 buildings in the system, and we will begin those at the end, the second 26 with, when we're finished with the first. Our disabilities program activities are underway, and I'm happy to announce that the program will be expanding to 2 new locations, Madison Community Center and Cleveland Community Centers. If you will recall, over the past 4 years, we have expanded beyond the headquarters of the Sportsplex to Coleman Community Center and Bellevue Community Center. So this will add 2 additional satellite sites for that programming, which is awesome. Community centers and cultural arts are very busy with programming, including after-school programming. And finally, I think I announced last month that the Cleveland Community Center would be reopening on August 7th. Our grand reopening is now September 23rd, although we do have some activity in the building there. A grand reopening to the community will be the 23rd of this month. With that, if I have any questions.
Will you say again the disabilities programming expansion? Those two
Sure,
parks?
sure. Madison Regional Community Center and Cleveland Community Center. If you'll recall, Cleveland, we are resuming operations from our MOU with the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee. So we're expanding this programming over there as well.
Any other questions? Future agenda items you'd like to see?
Yeah, it's been about a year since we've done site visits, and I'd love to get that back on the agenda. The school kids are in school, and the weather's better, so hopefully we can get a date on the books to do a half-day touring.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.